There we go.
All right, I got to add a little sauce to the whole thing here.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, it is the Gretsch podcast, right?
That's right.
There
There you go. Oh, I love that. That is just unbelievable.
How's that?
Oh, man, that is cool. So hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 85 of the Gretsch Afternoon. That is so funny. Oh, my goodness.
I'm having
Gretsch
fun.
Afternoon Drum Break. I'm your host, Neil LaFortune, coming to you live 90 minutes north of Toronto in Orillia, Ontario, Canada. And I've been very excited for the last few weeks, knowing that I was going to be talking to Curt Kirkee Bisquera, whose incredible 4-decade plus professional musical career has seen him share the stage or the studio with the likes of Morris Day and the Time, Johnny Cash, Leonard Cohen, Josh Groban, Bonnie Raitt, Mick Jagger, Sarah McLachlan, Elton John, Johnny Halliday, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers, Tina Turner, among others, as well as a slew of TV and movie soundtracks. Originally hailing from Santa Maria, California, Curt's first musical influence was his mom, who was a pianist and B3 organ player, and he gained his first musical experiences and on-the-job training, so to speak, with her. Continued education and experience led him into his first professional career, which has been diverse and led him to playing on big records, touring with some of the biggest premier musical artists of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Los Angeles, California, please welcome Curt Kirkee Bisquera.
Man, it sounds like I should get an award after all that.
Well, you're wearing the award. Oh, man, that was
absolutely. There.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've got, then we got it. Oh, how are you?
All right.
That's good. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here. It's nice to actually meet you virtually in person, and I've been super excited just knowing that you'd played on a lot of records that I listened to and copped so much of your stuff, and I know a lot of people are wondering about your story. So I wanted to ask you, what are you up to musically these days?
These days, I'm in a band, and the name of the band is Al Nesbitt and Alchemy.
Cool.
And Al Nesbitt is our fearless leader on guitar, and Tony Franklin on bass, who everyone knows from The Firm. And, playing with Carmine Appice and Jimmy Page and Jonathan Singelman on keyboards, and myself.
Wow. And what kind of music is that?
It's instrumental. I want to say it's like instrumental soundtrack theme music.
Yeah. So are you recording a project with them and planning on playing some dates? What's happening?
Yeah, we played a few dates in Seattle, and you know what? I'm sorry. We're getting that static again, and I hope it's not going into the YouTube feed. Maybe you could ask someone; they could let us know if you're hearing
that.
Yes,
we have Mr. Rob Andrews out there who is watching on Facebook. And can you give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if it sounds good on my end and on Curt's end? Let me know.
Yeah, because I'm getting that weird static again. Weird.
I wonder. And he says, yeah, Rob says it sounds funny.
Uh-oh.
That is not fun.
All right. I've done everything I could on my end.
Yes. And that is a wonder. And that is what happens when we have.
Hey man, tech. We're at the feet of technology.
Yes, I mean, and you're in LA, and I'm a lot of kilometers away from you, or miles away from you. And Chase drums. Chase, do you know who Chase is? He's Instagram, lots and lots of folks. He's playing a lot of yacht rock stuff. He said the audio is not that bad. I would rather it be good rather than not that bad.
Oh no.
So if you wanted to abort, we totally could. And we can come back a different day and time and figure this out.
Yeah, this is so weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I'm speaking, there is a delay with distortion. And it's so weird. I touched nothing. I restarted my phone.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll turn the volume. Let's try. Does that help?
It might be that. So if we can get some. So Chase and Rob, you guys are still out there. How was that? Curt turned down his
1
audio.
2 1 2 1 2. Hello.
Curt, is your phone sitting on a table?
Yes, it is. It's on a stand.
And mine
Do I
is
need
on.
to hold it? Do I need
on
to?
Can you imagine?
Do I need to go sit on the toilet?
As long as you put a sticker or a Gretsch sticker on
Right.
your, that would be amazing. You have the slap. Oh man, he said to hold it. Oh yeah. That's the last thing I want you to do is to have to hold that for. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah, we're gonna auction off this this Gretsch logo here. Previously
Right.
enjoyed by Kirkee.
After I licked it 15 times.
Then it's worth a lot of money here. That's yeah, he's saying sorry. He said to hold it. I'm not sure. Aye.
Hold.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely don't want to. If it's
hold it like that.
no, maybe your phone. That's terrible.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's on a kickstand. It's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now
Right.
I'm sitting. I hear what you're.
Here, let's make it really interesting. I'll go to my my drum room. You know what? Let's do it with the distortion, man. That means it's real and there's no AI. Right?
Yeah. We're gonna go to Kirkee's drum room. Come on.
Check this out, man. Boom.
Oh, that is just crazy. Whoa.
The Brooklyns. The Brooklyns.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you are a relatively new Gretsch artist.
Yes,
Couple of years now, and so happy to hear that you signed as a Gretsch endorser. And man, that is so. You have a Brooklyn kit there. What is that?
It's a Brooklyn. There's no way of turning the.
That's
camera.
all good.
Oh, anyway, it's a Brooklyn 16 by 20 kick drum.
Wow.
5 by 14 Brooklyn matching snare. 8 by 12 a snare stand and a 14 on the floor with legs.
And that is at home. Do you record with that, or do you practice with?
Yeah.
So is that like a main recording, or do you have a little kind of revolving set of drums that you?
Depending on the project, but these sound fantastic.
Yeah. How are they different than the USAs that I know that I've seen you play as well?
Well, the USAs are the USAs, right? But man, there's something about Brooklyn that has the warmth and bite, which is
Really
pretty amazing. Yeah.
You feel that they're a little maybe more modern sounding rather than like compared to the USAs versus say like a newer type of brand, like something that it might be a little more. How can I even say this? Maybe a little bit more modern sounding.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that it sounds exactly like a USA, but it has a little more bite, like a little more punch. Like
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's that shell configuration, the way they do it. It's a little thicker than the USA.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Wow. Yeah, they're great. What else do you have there at the house there, and your address, please? No.
Yeah. Well, come on down. No, my other kits. I have two other USA Customs 16 by 22, 7 by 10, 8 by 12, 14, 16, 16. The I like to call it the Vinny setup.
Yeah.
And then I have the meat and potatoes 14, 22, 9 by 13, 16, 16.
Sweet. What do you use those for?
I usually use that for like rock stuff, rock and pop kind of stuff, and then more like in the jazzier side of things, I use the 6-piece kit.
That's very cool. I'd like to go back, and I know you've answered this a zillion times. I've listened to several chats with you, and I'd like maybe our listeners here aren't familiar with how drums and music kind of entered your life.
Well, my mom being a musician, that helped. And, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask one more time. Is the sound really awful for the listeners? I hope.
Guys, anybody know, Chase was saying to flip the phone to landscape and it will work.
Oh, how's that?
It just might, because the mic might be in a different spot. What do you think, fellas?
Okay.
It's good that we've got some feedback, no pun intended here.
Yeah, no, I love that.
What do you think, Chase?
Hello. No, I still hear it on my.
Still the same sound. That is a drag.
I know, man, because I want it to be good.
I do too. Yeah, nothing like a first impression, right? They're like, oh, dude.
Yeah, it's like, wow, what's up with Kirkee's raggedy phone, man?
Or what's up with this Canadian? We're not converting this audio to metric, right?
Oh, that's what it is. We're going from inches to centimeters.
That's right. So I know, and gallons to liters. There we go.
All right, so let's try. I'm going to flip it to the right now. Did that help?
I wonder. In the past,
all the watchers get to watch us try to figure out the tech.
Yeah, and they're freaking out. In the past, I have used earbuds, and to me, it ended up not making any difference. So, what do you think, Chase? Are you there?
Hello.
I do hear that. It sounded like it just overloaded it.
Yeah.
And then it just like maybe comes back to you.
Yeah, so I wonder what that means. I mean, I only have my volume up halfway. Weird. Bizarre.
Yeah. Very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Do you hear it, Neil?
Occasionally I do. How do I sound to you?
To me, you sound fabulous and sexy. I don't know what's... The tech is overruling us right now.
Yeah, man.
Oh, well. How about if I speak softly?
That might be good.
We could do an ASMR version of this interview.
That is funny. That is funny. If you're cool to continue, we can. And if you don't dig it, then I can always
No, man, you know what? Hey, this means it's live. Let's go for it.
Okay. Apparently my voice doesn't have the echo, so which is I don't know why. But you're speaking about your mom, and I read and heard on some other interviews that you've had. Your mom was 8.5 months pregnant with you, playing the B3 and kicking the pedals, as you say. And man, oh man, let's talk about that. So music was in your life, obviously, at a very early age.
Yeah, her brother also played B3 and piano as well, my uncle. And so, I just was in a musical family, not by choice. They were already in it. So by the time my mom was doing gigs and stuff, she was pregnant with me. And I started playing in clubs with her and my uncle when I was 11.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was the coolest 11-year-old in my neighborhood.
I bet. And what kind of music were you playing? I mean, at that age, so that would have put you, that was in the 70s?
Yeah, basically is a lot of jazz standards.
That's
which I hated at the time because
did you really? You hated playing it? What did you want to play?
Oh, I wanted to play the cool stuff. I wanted to play James Brown, Led Zeppelin, Paul Revere and the Raiders,
That's great.
Hey, I'm not gonna argue. I look back on, being able to make $350 as an 11-year-old back then. That was a lot of money, man.
You're kidding.
Wow.
A lot of people don't make that now.
Well, dude, that was what, the 70s, man.
That's like a lot of money in today's money. And how long did you do that? How long were you play? Did you play with your mom? What did you learn from that experience?
How to accompany a singer, which was my mom and my uncle, and how to play as an ensemble player, not overplay.
Wow.
But play what's needed. Play the music.
Now, did you get like verbal guidance from your mom and uncle? Like, did they say, don't do this or don't do that or do this when this happens?
Yeah, my mom not so much, but my uncle was just a tyrant. He was just
Really?
like, slow down, speed up,
Oh man,
don't play the cymbal, play the hi-hat,
that that is invaluable. You know what I mean? Like, especially at a young age. So you would
Well, at
start
a
it.
young age it seemed like torture, but
Oh,
now I look back at it and was like, wow, they're just trying to school me, and teach me how to play the music properly.
and I'm fast forwarding in my mind to the song that pretty well everybody goes to when they talk about you initially is Bonnie Raitt's Something to Talk About. And what you don't play in that song is just, all those shots near the end of the phrase, the end of the chorus, there are all those little accent things. And you're playing time through that and you're so not getting in the way. But most people don't learn that maybe ever, or they learn it really late.
Well, I mean, I learned early on that melody is king, and the lyrics, that lyrics and melody rule the music. And just coming from that background and playing like that and just supporting the groove, the time, the feel, that's everything. As much as I'd love to gospel chop and just chop everything up, it's fun to do, but you have to serve the music, you have to serve the song.
For sure, for sure. Now, your first major, actually, let's talk a little bit about. So you went to MI Musicians Institute because of Ralph Humphrey and Joe Porcaro.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about that, and then parlay that into your first big audition.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was living in my hometown in Santa Maria and working at Lucky's supermarket as a bag boy, bagging up groceries. And then I knew I had to get the hell out of Santa Maria if I wanted to pursue music, because it's a small town, and I had already done all the gigs that you could do there, and I knew that I wanted to be in LA because that's where the music scene was. And I was looking through Modern Drummer magazine and saw that advertisement for PIT, which was Ralph and Joe. And I was like, okay, that's where I'm going. That was it, And I told my mom, and she forbade me. Like, you're not going there. You're going to go to college and get a degree. And I'm like, no, too late. It's too late, man. I'm a musician.
Yeah, and I guess that she knew that you had some talent as well, and I'm sure she was just obviously looking out for your best interest because she knew how difficult being a musician can be, and the odds of you playing with the greats could be small.
Absolutely.
So then you ended up taking, was it a year at PIT?
Yeah, it was only a year course that they offered, and
Wow.
yeah, within that year, they just cram everything into you, reading and different styles and hand percussion, and so it was definitely not for the faint of heart. There was a lot of ground to cover, but I see why they did it, because they just wanted to give you all that info, disseminate it and internalize it as you move on after school.
Wow.
But
So were you able to practice a whole lot while you were there? Like, did they have facilities for that back in the day?
Yeah, they had practice rooms, and you could go into the practice room and shed in there, and it, the school was in its infancy, so it was fairly
Right.
it was a raggedy Hollywood facility, but they had drum kits in there, and you could play and practice and sweat because there was no air conditioning. But you know what, man, it's those kind of places though that build character, right?
Yeah.
You go to some university now, like, oh, my own air conditioning, dimmed lighting, and there at MI when I went, man, it was just like musty, dusty rooms and raggedy drum kits that barely held together, with duct tape, and not that bad, but it was,
Yeah.
it was a school, it was a school, and there were a lot of wonderful players that came out of there during my time there. So,
what's the big thing that you learned from there? I understand that you really played by ear and you didn't read at that point, read rhythms very much.
yeah, I solely wanted to go there to learn how to read, and I would attend as many sight reading classes as possible, just to get it on my eyeballs and onto my hands, and start understanding the concept of reading and notation, and I to this day, I spend 5 minutes a day just reading something. There's a lot of cool stuff on Instagram now where you can they post up, like, these. Yeah, have you seen it? One of them is Grid Mic, where they put up, like 4 or 5 staves of rhythms, and you play along. And I do that every day just because it's fun, and I think it's a great thing. We didn't have that back then.
No.
Now we have it, and so it's like, I'm so going to use that.
Man, I love seeing that go by on the staff. You know what I mean? That is just so great.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and Drumeo has that kind of thing where you could see the Rush transcriptions back in the day, and you're like, that's what that is. I didn't know. And it really helped me understand that. But back, you're trying to read out of the Belson book or the syncopation book, and then you're like, hey, there's a couple of mistakes in that Belson book, reading in 4/4 and sometimes 5/4. But that's much more interesting to play along with something, and then you can see if you're playing it in real time.
Right.
So did you catch on to the reading thing pretty quickly, and did you apply that with other musicians on the fly when you were there?
Yeah, of course. They would put you in different ensembles of different styles of music, and they would put a standard in front of you, out of the real book, or some sort of composition that the instructor wrote, and you would have to read it and play it. And what was cool about that, it was a classroom of drummers, guitar players, and bass players.
Wow.
They had BIT, Bass Institute, GIT, the Guitar Institute, and drums, PIT. So you would then be able to play a trio with these songs.
That's cool.
And it was just filled with 30 to 50 students at any given time, and we're all there to help out each other. If someone was struggling, there'd be 3 or 5 students that would rush up to the drum kit and kind of help you.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it was this environment that was really helpful and really, like, communal, where we all helped each other out.
That's amazing. I know drummers are definitely like that, but it's amazing to hear that other instrumentalists would have been like that as well. You're all in it together, I guess. And now, nearing the end of your year there was an opportunity that came up for you that you'd heard about an audition. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Morris Day. Morris Day, man, who I just got to play with at the beginning of the year. Actually, the end of last year in November, and then through February of this year.
Wow.
Shout out and rest in peace, Jelly Bean Johnson. So, I got the call to just fill in while they had some gigs until they found a drummer. But yeah, that was it was a fun yet difficult time.
For sure.
But that's the most recent thing. But going back to the PIT days, I'd found out through the hallways of walking up and down of it, in the school, hey man, Morris Day is auditioning drummers at SIR. I was like, wow, that's cool. Because he had just separated from Prince and went solo. He had left the time and left the whole Minneapolis thing and decided he wanted to do his solo career. And he was auditioning drummers, and I found out about it.
That's crazy.
I went to SIR Studios and signed up on the sign-up sheet. I was the last of 50 drummers and got the gig.
That's crazy. And so I assume, because it was the music of the day, man, like you knew these tunes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, 1984, that was
Oh yeah.
when Purple Rain came out. 84, 85, the whole mid 80s
Yeah.
was just the whole Minneapolis explosion. And not only was I part of that, through working with Morris, but, just that that whole scene, that whole style of music
Hmm.
changed everything.
It really did. Now, was it just him, or was there a band that was there, or how did that audition go down?
Oh, yeah, it was just Morris, but he had his musical director, Ricky Smith, aka Freeze, and Freeze was there playing keyboards. He's currently still with Morris playing bass and
Wow.
vocals with Morris, but he was the musical director. And I'd asked him, I was like, "Excuse me, sir, are you auditioning drummers?" And he's like, "Well, we're kind of done." He goes, um, "Let me check with Morris." And he went in, and Morris said, "All right, let's hear this
Wow.
guy." They hadn't found a drummer that day until me. So I guess it was meant to be that I walked in there and being the last drummer and auditioned.
That is crazy. What are some of the songs they wanted you to play?
They wanted me to play Jungle Love and The Bird.
Oh, cool. Of course. Right?
Yeah, and those because those songs are massive during the movie.
They were totally massive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they were on the radio all the time. That movie was
Oh,
just
it was
a
everywhere.
blockbuster.
I was 17 when that came out, and that was like
Yeah,
prime time for that. And then did you play 777 9311? Did you play that for them?
I did only because I had told him I knew how to play it. And he's like, "Well, all right, then let's hear it." And I played it, and I saw his head moving back and forth and sitting on the edge of the couch. And then after we were done playing it, he asked me, "Do you want a job?" And I said, "Yes." And that's how my career started because of Morris Day.
Isn't that how you got your nickname as well, Kirkee?
Yeah, that was like that was kind of like a threefold thing. My grandma couldn't say Curt, being from the Philippines, so
Yep.
she'd always touch my cheek and call me Kirkee, 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 Kirkee. So it was kind of my grandmother, and then playing with both Morris and Shalimar, Mickey Free. It just culminated into Kirkee B, and I've I've embraced that name ever since.
It's
So
great. That's totally great.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like the R&B funk family. They know me as Kirkee B, and the rockers know me as Curt Bisquera. So maybe if I played my cards right, I could be two people in one,
Hey,
right?
there you go. There you go.
And
Hey,
and
with
and no
AI,
and no
man,
one would know, none the wiser, right?
two incomes, man.
Exactly. Two incomes, two hairstyles.
There you go. Yeah, two drum set. Going back to 777, that was a programmed drum machine groove. I remember hearing that thing and thinking, "There's no way anybody could possibly play that." How did you learn that? Did you learn that by ear? Like, did you just figure that out? And
Yeah, I remember learning it in my bedroom back in Santa Maria. I bought the 45 of it. And you know how like back then when you played a record over and over and over again, it would turn gray?
oh yeah,
At the very beginning of the 45, it was literally gray because I would move the needle and listen over and over again. But
wow.
yeah, I mean, the sheer genius of Prince to be able to take a pre-programmed beat out of the LM1 Lindrum and make such a great song like that's just sheer genius.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy. I remember watching a friend of mine play that at a drum shop I used to teach at, and I'm like, "Oh," he goes, "Oh, do you know 7/7?" I'm like, "I know the beat," and he plays it. It's the hi-hat stuff that's pretty well. Actually,
Right.
all of that is
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah,
Now
because
I
the
want.
kick and snare pattern is very repetitive. It's like only a one bar loop kind of thing. But the hi-hat is what makes it, sizzle.
And that's a David Garibaldi, allegedly a Garibaldi. He came up with that. Of course.
Allegedly, yeah, that's been the folklore, is that he was the one that had programmed that for Roger Lynn inside the machine, and it was, like a demo beat to show what it could do. But obviously, Prince knew it could go further.
Right, and turn it into a huge tune. Now, my friend Rob here is asking, why did they pick you for that gig?
At the time, no pun intended. At the time in '85, it was kind of like chic or whatever to have Asian musicians, and I was one of very few, and as a matter of fact, I was the only guy I knew that was, of Filipino descent and playing drums on a professional level. But I remember, when Morris put the band together, it was a culmination of all nationalities. Boney James, who everyone may know as a smooth jazz saxophone player, he was the keyboard player in the band when I got hired, and he had got hired the following week. But yeah, it's just I think during those times it was kind of the cool thing to have a mixed, racially mixed band,
For sure,
so,
right?
So
I guess you didn't see that really a whole lot,
Yeah,
you didn't see that. But man, what an awesome time that must have been for you. But I know that your goal was to be a studio guy. You wanted to play on records. I mean, I'm listening to some podcasts and interviews, and I think quite a few of us back in the day thought that would be, because our drum heroes, at least some of my drum heroes, found out that they were guys that played on a lot of different records. And so what got the ball rolling for you in the studio, and what were your first kind of big sessions like?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I wouldn't not have a session career had it not been for the late, great Jeff Porcaro. He was the one that took me under his wing and started telling producers, songwriters, and arrangers about me, and put my name out there. And overnight, my studio session career changed because of Jeff. So I owe Jeff, my whole career to him in terms of the recording aspect of it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I just remember as a kid, looking through the family's record collection and always seeing the same names. Back you could look at credits of musicians on the record. I kept seeing all these names that were familiar and repetitive over and over again. Jeff Porcaro, John Robinson, Carlos Vega, Craig Crampf, Russ Kunkel, Jim Keltner, Steve Gadd. The list goes on and on from the 70s and 80s. Those 2 decades were just mind-boggling in terms of the great drummers that recorded all of those records back then. So I wanted to know what and why those guys were always picked to play on these records.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading through different music magazines and found the term session musician. I was like, oh, that's what those guys do. They're session musicians, and they get called to play on different stuff. And I was like, I totally want to do that, because I was doing that playing with my mom, right? Playing different jazz standards and Latin tunes and, pop tunes of the day during that time. And I wanted to do that, but record as well, which I knew nothing about because I didn't own any recording gear or anything like that. But it was definitely like, it was just meant to be like, okay, I want to do what those guys do. And then I realized that it meant learning how to read, which I didn't know how.
Right. When did you have your first session? Or when did you hear? What was it like to hear yourself for the first time recorded on tape?
Well, gosh, as far as I can remember, it was just for a friend, and we were recording at his house. And I just remembered hearing myself back and just going, "Wow, that's what that is." That feeling of hearing yourself, but always listening to other drummers being played back through the years. But then when you hear yourself on playback, wow, that's amazing. And it definitely sparked the fire for sure to pursue it.
And yeah, and how did you get your drum sound together? Like, had you already got that together? I guess you'd played with Morris. Were you recording previous or right around the time that when you were playing with Morris?
No, I was only just being a touring drummer. Being with Morris for 5 years and doing that. That was pretty much all I did was as a drummer was go on tours. I toured with a bunch of other R&B and funk bands. Shalimar. Played with Sheena Easton, played with Pebbles. I played with a lot of those kind of R&B bands and stuff. Touring in Japan, touring around the country, doing those kind of gigs. But never was there any recording during that time. My first recording was Something to Talk About in 91.
That was your first big
Or
session?
90.
90?
Yeah, I think it was the end of 90, yeah.
So you sound, so I was again teaching that song to another couple of students yesterday because we happened to be learning those drum beats, but it was really neat. And the first thing, the song starts, soon as the song starts, of course, you hear this killer snare drum sound and this kick drum sound and this groove. And it's just, man, it's like that caught my ear 35 years ago thinking, okay, I love this song, but do you remember what the gear was? What the snare drum?
Oh yeah, it was my kit that I saved up to buy when I moved to LA, and it was a 5x14 Noble and Cooley snare drum and black piano finish recording customs 10, 12, 14, 22. They didn't have the 16 at the time, and I was still trying to save up money to get a 16, but it was just like, you know what, I'm just going to play the 10, 12, 14 for now. I carted that down in my truck to the studio, and the rest is history.
That's great. How did you get referred to play on that session? Like, how did that come about?
Through my dear friend Jamie Mahobrak, keyboard player. He had suggested that I come and play on that because he was playing at the time with Was Not Was, and Don Was produced that track. So I got a call from Don's man saying, "Hey, can you come down and play on this Bonnie Raitt tune?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds awesome." And I carted my drums down there and played on the tune, and yeah, it was fun. It was easy. It was fun. It was enchanting. It was all of those things that we imagine, walking into a scenario.
Did you already hear the song beforehand, or was that something that was? Did you have a click? You remember?
It was so long ago. I think there was a click to that, and it was just, Don was like, "Yeah, just do your thing on it,"
and the fills are beautiful too, those, and I've stolen so many of those things here, snare drum and then open hi-hat things, and then sometimes crashing, sometimes not. And there's a few Kirkee B signature things in that tune that's fill-wise that I realized after listening to this again that I've played for decades. So
Pat Boone, Debbie Boone.
Boone, Debbie Boone's a great one, man.
That's my default.
It's a great one. Man, what an awesome time. Now, were you tracking live? Were you playing with other musicians at that point? You remember?
No, I'd overdubbed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally sounds like that you're playing together with people.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at during the pandemic, that's what we totally had to do, right? So, luckily I had that training early on, but you know, that's the kind of gift that studio musicians have, is that they're able to recreate something that sounds like it was recorded with a bunch of musicians.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
It sounds like you're playing together, which is pretty cool, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, you know, and I think that's just part of doing it and listening. You know, I mean, that was obviously my first session, but it's just, you know, you walk in expecting nothing and just deliver everything, you know, give everything that you can to serve the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the third time I've said that, of serving the song. You know, I can't express that enough, you know.
I'm not sure people really hear that, or, you know, musicians that may not be mature enough, they may not be ready, or they may not really understand what serving it means. They're listening too much to themselves. They're thinking about what they want to play rather than listening to.
Right. And we all do that, you know, we all do that as we're coming up. You know, we overplay, we overdo, we speed up, we're anxious, we're excited, all those things. But, you know, it requires being able to hear the end result before it's done.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's totally great. That's
So
incredible.
if you could hear the final outcome up in here and be able to execute it here, I think that would probably be like, you know, studio drumming 101, right?
Yeah, that's great. How you can turn, for example, like singer-songwriter kind of song into flesh it out and have a full band play on that to be able to hear how that's going to.
Right. And great artists know already what it should sound like and feel like.
Sure.
And that's why they call session musicians, because they could come in and give the artist what they're looking for, you know.
That's incredible. So
It's
that
like,
opened the floodgates for you as far as playing on records and being more widely known. What were some of the next things that you did?
oh man, shortly thereafter, you know, I started working and playing with Was Not Was. I was the drummer with them. And then, you know, played on a lot of records that Don produced, and got involved and met Rick Rubin and started playing on those records. You know, Mick Jagger, Cash, Carl Perkins, um, John Fogerty. So
Wow.
there's a lot. Well, first of all, you know, it was the '90s, so there were still record labels,
Right.
and there was still budgets, and there was
Yes.
you know, everyone was working, and there was never a moment that went by where someone wasn't, because there was music that needed to be recorded, it needed to be performed, you know, and it's, I wish it was that way today, but it's not, you know.
Mm-hmm. It hasn't been that way for a long time.
Right.
Is,
That's a whole other conversation. That's another podcast.
what did you do with John Fogerty?
I played live with him. I played the 92 inauguration
Wow.
ball, Clinton, with Fogerty, and then played it on the record that he was recording during that time.
Wow, what a trip that must have been.
Yeah. I got a picture. I got a picture of me in the Prez.
Oh, that's neat.
With John Fogerty. Yeah, I got to find it. I think my wife packed it away somewhere. But yeah, it's crazy. I went up to him. I said, "Man, go get your saxophone. Come jam." And he laughed. I thought that was cool that he actually, you know, engaged with me on that, because he could have called, you know, Secret Service. You know, get this freaking drummer out of here.
Man, what a crazy experience. And
yeah.
So did Johnny Cash come about through Rick Rubin playing, being associated?
Yeah, just, you know, being there with Rick and doing all those records all at the same time, really. Mick, Johnny Cash,
oh man, yeah,
Carl Perkins, the God, who else? Yeah, So Rick was heavily involved as a producer in the 90s.
Yes, for sure.
And I was fortunate enough to be there during that time and got to play with those artists.
Unbelievable.
I know.
And you have a and then you played on the Tom Petty soundtrack. She's the One, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers soundtrack. Yeah. And man, I've been listening to so much of this stuff the last little while. Can't get over how great the Mick Jagger album from '93, Wandering Spirits, right?
Yeah.
That guy. And I know, so I'm gonna rant a little bit here. Most recently, you were talking about having a nice big fat snare drum sound, and I absolutely love having that. And then I turn on the Mick record, and I'm like, man, that's like some cracking high pitched there. But it was also 1993 as well. But man, that I don't know how. There's a couple of tunes in there. It sounds like you're playing to a loop, or maybe you made a loop with the percussion thing. You've got some kind of open hi hat thing. It almost sounds like. Do you know a track I'm talking about here? And it's off the Wandering Spirits.
It's a Sweet Thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that one was already recorded before I got involved recording. So I think they did that in New York or London, but that was already in the mix and already out there as a single.
Okay.
And then we Mick put the band together and then rehearsed it, and then we got right into the studio and started recording.
The drums sound so great. The songs are great. They're really different. And what shocks me is the order of the songs. You're going to have this kind of real in-your-face song, and then you're going to have and then the next tune is a completely different vibe and sound and groove and everything. Lots of ghost notes on the snare drum and interesting things, but certainly not overplaying. Playing more notes than I'd heard you play, but just great. Like, how did those sessions work? Was it take a long time to record these tunes? Was it over a period of months or weeks, or was it pretty quick? Do you remember with Mick?
Well, we did pre-production by putting the band together and going into a rehearsal place and rehearsing the songs. We did that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we got into the studio with Rick, and then just basically performed and recorded those songs as we did live rehearsing. But then Rick added his secret magical fairy dust on things, and then you could hear the end result. But it was it was interesting because there was a little bit of a struggle between Rick and Mick in terms of like what they were wanting. So I was in the middle of that.
Oh.
Rick Rubin wanted it more hip hop, Mick wanted it more rock. So I had to take those two voices in my head, Rick over here and Mick over here, and like, okay, how do I disseminate this? And then so you could hear the R&B funk stuff in that record, but it's still rocking.
That's a perfect way to describe that. Totally.
Yeah. But that so I had to approach it in that sense to make sense of the music and then to satisfy what those guys were hearing.
Oh man, they must have both of them must have loved you then, because you pulled that off. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I think they love me.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. Because man, wow, what a tall order. That was crazy. Now, when you kind of entered the LA session scene, how supportive were the guys, the other drummers, the JRs and Jeff and Vinny and Carlos? How were they with you? Were they welcoming? Were they cool with it? Or were they, some of them, a little bit funny that you were maybe going to take some of their work?
It's funny because all those guys were working. So I was just kind of like the added, I was just added to the roster, like, the Dodgers or something, I was added to the 40-man roster of drummers, Jeff obviously was the guy that brought me under his wing and got my start. But whenever I'd run into any of the other guys, man, they were cool about it. And and I was always fanboying around those guys anyway. So, I never
Sure. Oh,
I
yeah.
never came across to them like, I'm the new dude in town and I'm gonna take all your gigs. First of all, that's fucking gross. I've heard it and I've seen it. It's gross. So whoever's
Really?
doing it, stop it. And it was just like, man, I'm just honored to be here. So that was my whole trip on that. It was like, I want to be a part of the team. I want
Sure.
to do what you guys do. This is cool.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Well, I can imagine it would be quite the place to be. I mean, literally, that was your dream,
Yeah.
Growing up in Santa Maria, playing with your mom, and then moving, and studying, and then becoming one of the cats, and playing with all kinds of people, and playing on records that people are going to listen to for decades and long.
Yeah.
What a feeling that must be.
Yeah, it is. It's very gratifying, and I'm so proud of all the work that I've done from those eras of music. And like I was saying earlier, everything is evolving and technology is taking over, and more than ever, it's time for us to really support the humanity aspect of music making. Because with this AI stuff, it's robbing our youth. It's robbing the up and coming kids that want to strap on a guitar or a bass or sit behind a keyboard or piano or drums.
Yeah.
Because it's just so accessible to pick up your iPhone and sing something into it, and the robots will make something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like seeing kids playing out on the street. It's like whenever I see kids throwing a baseball or football or something, it's like, oh wow, kids are playing. That's awesome. They're not staring at a screen.
Yeah. I agree. I had never tried Suno until a couple of weeks ago and just fed it instructions, and it's terrible how like the songs were okay, I guess, but they just didn't have any heart to them. It was like sounded like it was so formulated, and I would like to use something similar to in order to create a little loop for me to play drums to, but I've deleted the Suno thing off my phone. I'm like, you know what?
Good. Good.
I
Because
had
you
to
have
see
friends.
it
I'm sure you have plenty of friends that would
tons.
be more than happy to come over
Yep.
and play an
Yep.
8-bar loop for you on the bass or
Yep.
keyboards or whatever.
Yep. And I could do a little bit of that here too, and write some things in what I have here. I was just curious to see if it would actually follow instructions, but it just left me cold and realized what it's doing to the future for us and for our kids and grandkids. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, I think it has its place, for example, it wasn't AI, but it was a video where I needed to learn how to replace my garbage disposal in my kitchen sink. And man, there was a plethora of videos on YouTube that taught me how to do it. I was able to, hold up my iPhone under the sink and,
oh wow,
yeah, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. So maybe in the medical aspect of things where AI
sure,
can help, where it can speed up a procedure or like that. But creative wise, I think the human
yeah,
sitting with a guitar could come up with something way cooler in an instant.
agreed. And how is that stuff going forward? Who's going to get paid for all of the stuff that they have stolen?
Yeah,
Essentially?
shout out to Demiza. I really want to meet this guy because he lives just an hour north of my hometown. But Demiza, if you follow him on Instagram, DAMIZZA,
Okay.
he is on the cutting edge daily of what's going on with all things AI, all things that pertain to music, all things that pertain to where it's all going with the legislature and the legalities of all of it. So I get all my info from him, and it's really interesting what's going because it's changing and evolving so quickly, So that just tells me, okay, while all this madness is going on with the tech, this is the time to put together a dream band and go play a coffee shop, have fun, and drink a ton of coffee, and make $20 and make music.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Make
nothing
music.
like going and seeing music, nothing like going and playing music in real time with people. There's nothing. We had the other night we went to the amphitheater in Toronto there and saw the Doobie Brothers and Carlos Santana, and was lucky enough to go backstage and chat with Cindy for a while, and we chat with Cindy Blackman Santana, and Carlos walked in the room, and that was just a really cool thing to be able to meet Carlos and to be able to watch. The Doobie sounded unbelievable. Santana sounded unbelievable. No tracks, no, it was all 100% live. It was a pretty awesome time.
Did you get a chance to talk to Carl Barraza?
I did not. We were just there, brought to saw, man, holy cow.
Yeah,
what a beast.
He played with Sheila E.
Wow, okay.
When I was playing with Morris, he was the drummer with Sheila E.
I had no idea. That is wild. Oh, man. Well, I figured you would know these. Oh, man, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was your time playing with Elton, the time that you spent with Elton John. And I know the Madison Square Garden shows. And what was that? How did the Elton thing happen for you? And what kinds of things did you do?
Well, it all started, recording with him in the studio on the records that I recorded with him. And it all started there. And, just developing a relationship and getting to know someone. And then, somewhere he decided, I want Curt to play drums with me live. And so I got a call from his management, and they were like, hey, you want to come play live drums and go on tour with Elton? I'm like, duh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
But the really cool thing, excuse me, the really cool thing about it was double drums with Nigel Olsson. That was really cool. So I think back on that day in the year 2000 at Madison Square, doing that show one night only, and just looking over at Nigel the whole time, just going, wow, this is like a dream come true to play double drums with one of your drum heroes.
That would have been unbelievable. What did it feel like playing with Nigel? Like, were your clocks similar as far as playing?
I wasn't even paying attention to that, other than probably that Cheshire cat grin on my face and my cheeks hurting from smiling the whole time. I really wasn't paying attention to that, but when I look back at the video of all that, it was just like, wow, we sound great together and very complimentary to one another. And I wish it would have lasted forever. Things change. There was some changes that Elton needed to do, but man, just that whole thing of double drums to me is like, wow, this is incredible. Because I came up listening to the Doobie Brothers, the James Brown Band, Earth, Wind and Fire. They always, those bands that I just mentioned, had two drummers.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
I've never done that live. That would be a really fun thing. That would be. I've done it with drummer friends, but man, a trip.
Yeah, it's fun because it allows you to collaborate and not take over. You know what I mean? Because it really exposes you if you try to take over, because you're just now it's like furniture down the stairs. But then you find a little pocket with the other drummers. Oh, there it is. There's the lock right there.
Was there anything that you guys had spoken about that you had worked out, or had you talked about? Oh man, come on.
No, man.
Really?
No.
It was just a musical conversation.
Osmosis and just knowing each other's playing and listening. Again, listening is everything, and you just kind of know where to put it. You know how much you can add, how much garlic, how much salt and pepper.
Here we go.
Right.
We got some food
And,
references coming. I love it.
you know, just enough to let the flavor, burst through, but not overpower.
That's incredible. What an experience. I'm going to have to watch that. Can we find that online anywhere? Is that on YouTube?
Yeah. I think if you just type in Elton John MSG, a lot of that, the footage from that comes up. You could watch it.
That would be unbelievable. Now, when you learned those tunes, like, did you go back and listen to the original recordings, or did they want you to do kind of an updated version, or was there any talk about that at all?
They sent me all the songs that I needed to learn, of course, but Davey Johnstone, who's the musical director, he said, play it like it is on the record, but how you would play it. Add your essence to it, which really I didn't need to, because the essence was already there. Again, with Nigel, that music plays itself, and he's serving the music. So there wasn't much I could do to show that, hey, it's me playing drums. It was more like just honor what has already been recorded and modernize it through maybe a higher pitched snare drum, or maybe some other fills that make it a little more colorful. But that was pretty much it.
That's incredible. What an experience. I recommend anybody that's watching here, please check that out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I can't see how many people are watching. How many people are watching?
So currently it's right now there's 9.
9. Okay. Hey, 9.
Hey, 9. We've got 9 so far, but and since this is the Gretsch Afternoon Drum Break podcast live stream.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Gretsch, man.
A little bit ago. Now, when were you first aware of Gretsch drums, Curt?
Well, it all started when I started doing sessions. Seriously, when I started doing sessions, the 2 questions that were asked, and this is for real. When I started doing sessions, the first question out of the producer and engineer's mouth was, "Do you have a Gretsch kit? And do you have a Black Beauty?" And those were the 2 tools, when I was coming up and during that time of recording, those were the tools that were on all the sessions. Wow. That was required for that sound, right? And when I got into biz, my first cartridge storage rental guy was Ross Garfield, the drum doctor.
Yep.
And I called him. I forgot what session it was, and I was like, "Hey, man, instead of bringing my kit, the producer wants a Gretsch kit." He's like, "Okay, great." And he brought this Gretsch kit down. I was just like, "Oh my god!" It was night and day, and in that moment, I realized that's why Gretsch drums are on all those recordings.
Right.
I'd heard a story that allegedly Jeff Porcaro, even though he endorsed Pearl, he used all the Pearl hardware on Gretsch shells. I don't know how true that is. This is folklore, allegedly. But if that's true, then there's the testimony right there, right?
I've seen a picture, and it looks like you can see the silver sealer inside the shell. And who knows? But yeah, of course, and there's plenty of pictures of him playing that Centennial kit that he used to record with. And then well, that's an early '80s, an '81.
Oh man.
USA custom kit. There's a bunch of drums. They're lovely, absolutely lovely.
Wow, beautiful.
They're beautiful. So when you were, what sizes would you bring to a session, or what would you have Ross bring you back in those days?
My default was always the 10, 12, 14, 16, 22. But back then it was like the 22 by 18 kick.
Right.
And the power sizes on the 10 and 12. So it'd be like a 8, 10, and 10 by 12.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah. you know, because the power sizes of the 80s and early 90s.
Yep.
But, you know, still, I mean, even those power sizes of Gretsch sounded amazing. But yeah, I mean, the standard sizes of 10, 12, 14, 16, there's no beating that. That's like, you know, kind of poutine, right? I'm sure you have your favorite poutine place, and there's no one's going to beat it. It's guaranteed great all the time, right?
That is awesome. And since returning, well, were you ever endorsed by Gretsch before, or did you go straight?
No, this is my first time, you know, and
Yeah,
I'm a newbie, so.
and that's really neat. Were you familiar with the different series of Gretsch, the Brooklyn Broadcaster, and USA's?
I was not. I only knew the USA because that's always what I ordered for sessions when they were
Right.
needed, you know. And you know, I started researching and reading about Gretsch. I was like, wow, you know, not only is this a legacy company, but man, all these other different styles and, you know, different shell configurations and stuff. It just makes all the sense in the world. You start listening to Art Blakey and Elvin, and you start listening to all those
Yeah.
old jazz records. Like, oh my God, that's the sound, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It totally is that sound. Have you played the Broadcasters?
I played the Broadcasters. I played them all, and they all are just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you can't lose. And I'm not saying that because I endorse. They truly have a thing. I don't know what it is. And you know, you ask any drummer or producer, like, yeah, I mean, Gretsch has a thing about it. It's set apart from all the rest of it.
They really do have something special, and even through the lines, I play a Broadcaster kit out and a couple of USA's, and I've had renowned kits, and this is a Catalina club with a little 16-inch bass drum, which
wow.
is silly sounding. It sounds just so big. It's a 1616. Pretty
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, it's got lots of oomph, and it records great too. But I was so happy to see that you were a Gretsch endorser. I'm like, oh man, and to see your Instagram over the last few years and playing, and man, and that shuffle that you were playing that you posted last week, I believe it, or a few days
Just a few
back.
days ago. Yeah.
Where was that?
God, I forgot what studio that was. Unfortunately, those were not Gretsch drums. Those were that was the house kit in the studio. I was just using my cymbals, but that was the house kit. But I was like, this groove cannot just sit on my phone. So let me post it up.
Yeah. No, you were definitely known for that and your diversity. A couple of things here. I'd like to talk to you about how you broke into playing on soundtracks and TV shows and things like that. How did that come about for you? You played on a slew of those as well.
Yeah, well, you know, that was during the time of the 90s when all the studios were open and every room was booked. And, you know, I would be in Studio B, and in A, there would be some composer working, and you'd walk through the hallway to the break room, you know, grab a coffee. You know, hey, are you Curt Bisquera? Yeah. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Nothing. Why? Man, I would love for you to come in and play on a couple of tracks for this new Disney film that we're working.
Man.
I was like, all right, cool. And that's just how it went down. It was, you know, there was always someone working in another room, and it could be on another record, it could be for a commercial, TV commercial, a movie. So, you know, music was abound here in Los Angeles and all the studios. So that's how all that came about. I'd be on a movie date, run into a composer. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? Nothing. Why? What's going on? I got a Taco Bell commercial for you to come and play on. Great. See you at 10 a.m. And
That's
so,
crazy.
you know, and then the word gets out. Oh yeah, you know, you could hire Curt. You know, session work for commercials, TV, film.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and you know, and again during that time, music was just being recorded for everything.
Yeah, right. Totally.
So,
And some of the soundtrack things are some pretty challenging pieces of music. Have you ever come across anything while you're at a session that you kind of that stumps you a little bit, or are you able to kind of make that happen?
I mean, whenever I get called for movie dates, man, I'm clenching the backside of my body as I'm driving to the studio, because it's intense, man, because you don't know what you're going to be playing. You don't know who's going to be there.
Right.
It could be a 50-piece orchestra. It could be just you. It could be just the rhythm section. It could be you and a 20-piece orchestra. It could be 1 page of music. It could be 10 pages of music. It could be 15 pages of music, and it's intense. But luckily, and knock on wood, every time somehow I survive, and I'm driving home, calling the wife. Okay, the session's over. I'm coming home.
But I got Taco Bell.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Wow. How do you keep yourself calm and not lose it during, like a moment that's a little bit intense?
The great Jeff Porcaro, man, when I started doing sessions and he started recommending me, he said, "Man, Kirkee, you gotta make sure you show up early,
Oh yeah.
at least an hour." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Man, he goes, you never know what these motherfuckers are gonna throw at you. They may want to change the groove or give you more music to play, or you got to be there early to prepare for that." And to this day, I leave 2 hours early before downbeat. My wife's like, "Are you leaving early?" Yeah.
Darn right.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just habit forming, and so that's my habit. Is I like to be there early. I like to get coffeeed up, have a bagel, tune the drums, acclimate to the room, the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have someone do you still have a cartridge person?
Yeah, I still use John Oreshnik over at Angel City Drumworks, but I haven't used him in so long because after the pandemic, things have changed, and
Right.
I'm essentially just working out of my home studio now. And
Right.
but whenever there's something of scale, I'll call John and see if he could help me out.
And does he tune your gear as well, or are they already probably the way that you like them?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I know how to tune, so I'm able to keep the drums tuned up and sparkly, fresh, clean.
Mm-hmm. Do you like new heads or some that have been played a little bit before a session?
I love fresh heads, but if they've been played a while and the drums are sounding good, don't touch it.
Yeah. You tune the bottom head tighter or the same note as your batter head?
Bottom head tighter, up a fourth on the top, or no, up a fourth on the bottom. And when you hit both, the interval should be a fourth.
So the bottom is pitched up higher?
Okay. Yeah, the bottom is tighter. Yeah.
I saw Steve Maxwell kind of say the opposite. And his drums always sounded good, but I tried it at home and went, these don't sound good that way. The top head tighter than the bottom, but it makes sense that the bottom one is going to be tighter for some projection and
resonance.
Yeah.
And then your tone comes from the top.
And your floor toms, your bottom heads, your reso heads, are they still tuned up a fourth? Is that right?
Yeah, I try to get it. That's the rule of thumb, is a fourth, but it's usually either a third or a fourth. More on the third side, because sometimes a fourth is just too much, so it'll tend to choke out and ring.
Okay.
So like a third or a fourth. Definitely the bottom head tighter. Clear ambassadors on the bottom.
Okay.
Coated or clear top.
Single ply ambassadors as well. Yeah. Never two ply.
I was going after the Emperor thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was only a very narrow sweet spot for that on Gretsch drums, but there's something about ambassadors top and bottom on Gretsch that just, it works, man. It works. It's the magic combo to me.
Yeah, oh, I agree with you. And how do you get that fat snare drum Kirkee B sound out of the snare drum?
Don't crank it. You know, I mean, there's so many drummers. I think it's just in their mind to crank it down and
Right.
high pitch everything. I always try to go low because you could always go high. Right?
Okay.
So I tend to tune from mid to low, and it just sounds better recorded.
Both on wood snare drums and metal drums?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. We have a
You could always
question.
crank a snare drum.
That's true. I've got the bell brass, and I like it low. My friend Rob, who's watching, comes to see us live, and he's like, "You got to crank that snare drum up." And I'm like, "I like it fat and low," but he's in the audience, so I crank it up because he's there. He asked a question: any bass drum mic placement tips?
You know, I use a D112. I use a Audix D6X, and to be quite honest, I cut a 5-inch hole at around 4:30, 5 o'clock. You're looking straight at the
Okay.
bass drum, and I'll cut that 5-inch hole, and just you could interpret this however you want, but you just stick the tip in. Just stick the tip in. Seriously, stick the tip in, and that seems to really have the essence of like the full kick drum sound, the tone, and still get attack.
And muffling. What about muffling? Sorry, I'm geeking out here, but
No,
I gotta.
man, let's geek out. 1/4-inch packing blanket. That was still the go-to. For recording. I know a lot of kids these days are muffling their drums. Basically putting a bedspread over their drum kit now. But I like my drums to ring. I like ringing drums. I like them to sing. So, yeah.
Any muffling on your toms at all? Any muffling on the tom toms?
If need be, and if I do, I'll take a piece of gaff tape about 6 inches long and roll it into a tube. Put that up at 12 o'clock next to the rim. And
never done that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's LA studio tech stuff that I learned from the greats.
That's I've always seen the I guess they're making like a little ridge and putting it kind of at the top, like in kind of a little, and that seems to work for me. But I find some now that I don't know what's going on in the gaff tape world, but it sucks. I had one fly off in Ohio last week. We're playing, and all of a sudden I could see it just we're outside too, zinging off the bell brass. I'm like, well, that's not gonna sound great. Now what do I do?
It depends on what kind of gaff tape.
You believe we're actually talking about that?
Yeah, we're geeking out right now. 3M seems to have the stickiest adhesive.
Yeah,
I've been finding. So if you've got 3M gaff tape, you're going to be in good shape. It won't fly off.
So 3M gaff tape and just the tip in the bass drum.
Just the tip. Like put the tip in about 2 inches maximum, and that's it.
There you go, Rob. You've got some bass drum microphone placement things.
The tip in, Rob.
Just stick the tip. Well, Rob's a fantastic drummer. Bought a beautiful Gretsch rosewood kit from actually his parents did like 30 odd years ago when we were in our 20s, and he still has it now. Has a 24-inch bass drum to go along with it. But I wanted to ask you, how has the career path of a drummer changed in the last 5 to 10 years, Kirkee B?
Oh my God. You have to become your own engineer, recording engineer, videographer, tech, learn mic placement, learn DAW software, whatever software of your choice. So we had to learn a lot of hats in the past 10 years, 20 years. And, with the studios closing and having to do everything DIY, we're more than drummers now. So pat yourselves on the back. You guys are doing great.
Right. Yeah. I guess you had a lot of help with some great engineers and friends that knew And you already had a lot of recording experience. Were you already asking a lot of questions to engineers when you would go in?
Oh
Yeah.
man, from my first recording date when I did something to talk about for Bonnie Raitt, the great Ed Cherney, may he rest in peace.
Hmm.
He was there engineering, and I asked him the stupid question, where does that mic cable go to, and what does it do?
It's great.
But the coolest thing I could tell you about this story is that every engineer that I've asked through my career at the studios, they always took the time out to answer my question.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I mean, that is invaluable.
Yeah.
So by the time I got my home studio together, it was like I already knew what to do,
That's great. You get called to do a bunch of different things at the home studio?
Yeah, a bunch of different things at home studio. Mostly vanity projects for artists that are recording their own music and
Right.
want to put out their streams. I can't say CDs, cassettes, or 8-tracks anymore. So, or vinyl. Well, no, vinyl. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of vanity projects. Which, man, there's a lot of great artists out there now that are completely unknown, and they're just getting out there. And it's like, man, this should be the next Taylor Swift or
Really.
BTS or Youngblood. It's like, it's amazing. There's a lot of talent.
And a lot of talent that we're never going to hear, which is really sad, for whatever state is, but if you look for it, there's lots of good stuff out there. So do you have any favorite music that you're listening to? Anything that's inspiring you that's of the newer persuasion?
I'm probably going to get a lot of flack and hate for this, but I fucking love BTS, man. And here's why. Hear me out on this. Because of all the years I spent in the studio and watching engineers and producers craft the sound.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, BTS and who they hired to write and who they hired to program and craft their sound, man, they got it down to a science. They figured it out from the BPM,
Yeah.
the sounds they use, the way they tune the vocals, just like it's all like all that great technical stuff that we love about recording, all put onto these 7 guys, right? That get up there and dance and sing. Now, I know they're not playing any instruments or whatever, but you can hear in those tracks either a live drummer, live bass player, guitar, pretty much everything else I'm sure is programmed. But you could hear that the way it's crafted and put together and assembled. It's incredible.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
And it strives for me to be more on point like that as a live session drummer. It strives for me to aim for those kind of sounds and aim for the type of precision. And then, but I still listen to Freddie King. I still listen to old blues stuff.
Sure.
Led Zeppelin and James Brown and, all that stuff. But there's something about modern pop right now that has grabbed my attention in terms of sonically what's going on.
That's cool. Do you get called to do many of those sessions?
No, I don't. And maybe that's what I'm conjuring forward, is that maybe some K-pop band will want to call me and have them put some of my flavor onto their music.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Imagine that. Next thing you know, you're on the road and Kirkee B's not home for a while, right?
Yeah, man. God, touring the world with those bands, but I don't know. I mean,
that is all.
What did I read? I think they bring in 30% of South Korea's GDP. That's crazy.
Holy cow.
It's something up there like that. 22 to 30%. Dude, whatever. The fact that they're bringing in GDP, that says everything. Who's doing that? Who's doing that in the States?
Yeah.
What band is doing that can?
The band that I play in, we played in the Philippines. We've been there 3 times, and these one of the lady promoters, it talks about these K-pop bands that she absolutely loves.
Yeah.
And she was, when we were chatting, she goes, "Do you know how popular these people are? And do you know what kinds of, how many people that they're playing for? And that totally makes sense now when you're talking about that. That it, because I'm almost 60 years old, I'm thinking, oh man, I don't need to listen to that. But you know, I think you should always keep your ears open, you know,
Absolutely.
and it
Absolutely.
sounds like you do, you know, which
Well,
is great.
I try to, because I don't want to be that old fart Filipino guy down the street going, get off my lawn. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that like knows what's happening is the best
Yeah.
I can. I try
You
to,
know,
keep in touch with everything that's out there that's going on.
mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. If you were 19 again, Kirkee B, what would you focus on to get yourself playing with the upper echelon of artists, or just even maybe making a good living being a drummer? Is that even
19,
possible? You know,
19 now or 19 back then?
now if you were 19 now, 19, 20 years old, somebody, you know, that's playing drums, somebody that wants to be successful as a drummer and play with all kinds of artists and 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 kind of do what you do. Is that even possible, do you think?
I think it's possible. The road to that is probably a little more difficult, but if you're driven to such a point where that's all you can imagine yourself doing, then yes. And that just requires being out there and available, showing up to every jam, showing up to every event where they have drummers sit in, events where you could meet guitar players, keyboard players, songwriters, artists, and just make yourself available. I think that would be the way to go if I was 19 again.
What about social media? How would you navigate that? Would that be a focus? I think you kind of have to be.
You have to be, but the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in actually going to see that person play, because we could all put together a reel of something of us playing in our bedroom or in my foyer of my house here. That would just be phenomenal. But can they pull that off live? That's the real question.
Right.
And I've read about a few of these Instagram stars, YouTube stars that really can't play.
I heard that recently.
Yeah. And that's a shame, because that in itself gives the watcher some hope. Like, oh my God, if they could do it, I could do that. And let me copy that.
Right.
But then you go see them live and they're like, what? I've totally been duped.
Right.
The guitar player.
Yes.
Yeah. You know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
He got exposed. And
Yes.
that's what a drag, But I'm glad that needed to happen, right? Because it keeps it real.
Right. Right.
Especially now where there's AI. Is it real? Let me cross-check that. You have to.
There's stuff that if we'd have seen some of these things that are out today, musically or not musically, 5 years ago, we would have thought that is 100% real. We wouldn't question it. Now we question it more than we believe that it's real, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But anyway.
Yeah. So we got to get to that point where we can authenticate.
Appreciate, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Apparently, the sound got a whole lot better.
It did.
The last while, I think pretty early on. So, which is great. But thank you, man, Kirkee B, for your time and for your contribution to music and drumming, and it's been fun listening to more things that you've done. And I want to check out that MSG, those concerts with Elton. Is there anything in particular that you're really proud of that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, the current band that I'm in, Al Nesbitt and the Alchemy, we're on all the streaming platforms.
Okay.
Check that out. It's some pretty cool instrumental music that I think a lot of you drummers, musicians will dig. There's that, and hit me up on Instagram, Curt Bisq, CurtBisq. That's also my handle on YouTube. And yeah, let's
Fantastic.
talk drums. Let's geek out.
Thanks, Kirkee B,
Oh,
and
what kind of
happy
drumsticks
to
do
have
you
you on.
use? What kind of
What's that?
drumsticks do you use? What are
Yeah.
your drumsticks?
What? Sorry, drumsticks.
Yeah, what kind of drumsticks do you use?
I play Headhunters drumsticks. Actually,
Oh, what are
they're
those?
made in Canada here, and they're fantastic.
All
Love
right.
them. I was a Regal Tip endorser for 17, 18 years, and
Yeah.
then they kaput, sadly. And oh, you played Regal as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had my stick model, the Groover.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah, man, I played
Groover.
the daylights out of those. Yeah, I have a couple of NOS sticks that Mike Fasano sent me from
Oh,
Pro Drum. He
nice.
found them in the back. He thinks that some of them used to belong to Ed Shaughnessy, so
Oh, wow.
he mailed them to me maybe a year or so ago, and they're still in the package, which is cool. So,
Oh,
but
right on.
and what are you playing?
I play Vader Fusion Acorns.
Man, I played those to death too. I love
I
those.
love those, man. I just like, man, when I discovered those, I was like, all right, here's my stick. This is my stick.
They're really comfortable and have a great sound with that acorn tip on
Yeah,
the
they just feel good in the hand, and yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it.
I was really sad when Regal just stopped making drumsticks.
Yeah, that's too bad. But you know, all things come to an end. You know,
Yeah,
all
yes,
things run their course, I guess.
for sure. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank
All the
you.
best to you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for
Yeah.
episode 85, the Gretsch Afternoon Drum Break. And we will see you next time. Take care,
All
everybody.
right, man. See you guys.